What's happening? It's season 2, episode 31, Contrast Uncut. Man, shout out Uncle Snoop's Army. Bobby D presents. I would not be able to do any of this without you guys, so I appreciate y'all for just, rocking with me and leading the way. It's your host, Zylo, aka DJ Wine Dollars Like I Won Some Money. Today, we have a very, very special guest. He's one of them super producers, one of the masters of the rack, mega engineer. He touches records like, he touches people's babies. He takes a lot of care. He takes a lot of precious time into that, that seed of a song. And he's in it from in and out. He's worked with some of our favorite artists from E40 to Kamaya to Too Short to John Hart to Los Racas and many, many more. We got Empire's very own Clayton Williams in the building, everybody.
Going down.
Hey.
My boy.
What's happening, bruh? How you feeling?
Man, shout out from San Francisco. We on that quarantine lockdown out here, so trying to keep it fresh.
No, I know you find your ways to get it. I know it's a journey to go from the Jose all the way up to the city.
Yeah. I mean, you get used to it. I mean, I was driving back and forth between the Bay and LA for many years, like 5 years. So, LA was actually, I spent the last 5 years in LA, and then I'm back in the Bay now.
So before I get into this quote, let me ask you this quick question. What do you like living more, the Bay or LA?
Man, it's a toss-up because I'm from the Bay, so I appreciate it's a very unique place. A lot of culture is bred and grown here, so I'm very thankful to be born and raised here. But they're just, there's some shit about Los Angeles, man. I didn't want to leave, to be honest. I really like the vibe of LA, the weather, the beach, and then the creative aspect, because you get some of the you get the biggest in the world that go to Los Angeles just to go create, and so from a work aspect, I love Los Angeles. I still got a studio in Burbank. I try to get out there at least once a month, a couple times a month, but the Bay Area is home, so I'm super thankful to be here. I just had my first son, so be able to raise little Manny around his family, that's a blessing.
So normally I wait until the middle of the show, but since you brought it up now, I got to give you your flowers, bro. You're a dedicated dad. You actually show a little bit more to society about your commitment to your children, but versus others. But I mean, bro, I really got to take the time to say, bro, I appreciate you doing that, because one, you inspire. That inspires people that are in the industry, that are there, that remove themselves, that it's possible. Because as big as you are, you have a Burbank that's 5 hours away, 400 miles away. You make time to go there, but you still make time to spend time with your son and the development stages.
Yeah, I mean, that's very important. That's very important to me. Like, I was lucky enough to have both my parents there when I was growing up. Unfortunately, they got divorced, when I was in high school. But I remember how important that was to me, And then when my parents got divorced, I remember how much that tore my foundation from underneath me. So can I be there more? Of course, we always probably can be, but I mean, I want to, more than anything, I want to show my son that you can do it. I want to show him by action. I don't want to be the dad who, hey, you should have done this, you could have done it. No, like, my life should be an example for you, to go chase your dreams and do what you want to do. So I live by that, for sure. It's funny because I used to think that my life was going to be over when I had a kid, but it's actually just the opposite,
It's actually just beginning.
I think my life is fuller now, probably because, it's just, you don't have the time without, not being a parent. So I got to make good use of my time.
Absolutely. Because shit, they'll use your time up any way they can. My son, my daughter will break in this room while I'm doing interviews. I could be talking to the president, and all they want to do is get their dad's attention for 5 seconds, and then realize I'm on here. They'll make fun of me, call me like a button head, and then get up out of here.
Right. And they don't give a shit who you're talking to.
No.
It's like, who's that? Yeah.
It don't matter. Like, and they all, that's just them, you know, that, and I appreciate it. It humbles me. It brings me back down to life. Like, it don't matter what I got going on. I got my own seeds that I got to provide for.
Facts.
So let me go ahead and get into my quote. Let me know how this relates to you or if it doesn't. And, you know, we'll get the show going. If you can play the piano, you could play any instrument. E40.
I agree with that statement.
Why?
Well, I mean, so I play the keys, like I'm self-taught at the piano, and I feel the only instrument I can't duplicate is probably the guitar, you know. But because I could play the piano, I could tap in all the synths, all the sounds. So I think from that aspect, I'm very grateful to have picked up that as, you know, my weapon of choice. However, when I need some good live guitar, I gotta go get the real thing. I can't duplicate that.
Yeah, no, you can cut corners a little bit with the keyboard and make some things sound good, give a good riff effect. But the shit, I believe that so much because the keyboard, you can have voices be at the finger of your tips, you know what I mean? And boom, you got this crazy Whitney Houston sound, and then you cross it with like this ambient sound just by pressing another key. And so, you know, I love it. So we both took the same aspect of what he was going with it.
Right.
Let me ask you this. Did the game choose you or did you choose the game?
Man. So the game chose me. However, I feel like there's a multi-layered question to that because it starts with your love for music and music's effect on you as like a child and how, like, you know, you listen to it. You know, like I loved like R&B music at first, you know, like, you know, Boyz II Men and Mariah Carey and all that shit. And then all of a sudden I discovered Tupac, and it was like, you know, it kind of changes your perspective on life. And so I knew music was a powerful thing. So I think from that aspect, I just love music. So I got into it, and that's what made me put in the time. But then I feel like it shifted over time. Like now I feel like music's a tool for me to build bridges, you know, and I feel like that was always kind of like my spiritual purpose. But I feel like we all have different purposes, you know. It's like there's your spiritual purpose, and then there's what you do for a job, for a living, to make money. Those necessarily can go hand in hand, or they don't have to go hand in hand. I think for me, they go hand in hand. I made a conscious effort to connect those things. Because otherwise, I think you can get tired of the music industry. Because the game, I mean, I'm sure you know, there's snake, sharks, wolves, and fucking Tyrannosaurus Rexes and shit. So you got to be on the lookout. Yeah, you got to be on the lookout for all that shit. So I feel like that the industry doesn't excite me anymore. Like that's work, that's business. But I found a way to connect it with my purpose, which is really building bridges through music and building with people. So it makes you look past the bullshit, you know. Right. So I feel like that the game got me, but it led me to my purpose.
So when would you say you got your confirmation that, you know, your plan A of everything that you felt like was your gut feeling of doing music, you know, gave you your moment of, man, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my confirmation.
So I was kind of had this goal as a kid. I was like 16, 17, 18. And like my favorite artists were, you know, E40, Too Short. Like, you know, I grew up to MC Hammer. So it's like, I always wanted to work with them. And then it was like 3 years ago, I'm like a couple years into being in LA, and I look back and I'm like, I found myself always like trying to seek validation, you know, like in this game, like you kind of, you know, until like you have some awards or you're around some people or unless you just believe in yourself so innately that you're just like, fuck everything else, I'm dope. I didn't have that confidence yet. And then all of a sudden, like I look back, it was a few years ago, and I'm like, damn, my idols became my friends and my business partners. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I feel like, all right, now I don't need anybody's confirmation anymore. I realized I had the sauce the whole time. However, you got to keep developing it. You got to keep, you know, even now, like, I feel like I've gotten to a place, but I don't feel like I've done my best work yet, you know? So it's like, you got to keep going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, you know, it got to feel good when you're at the Niner game and GOAT comes on And you know, that feeling that goes across your neck, them hairs go up, the goosebumps hit, like, man, I did that. That's me.
Oh, bro, that's the biggest drug. That's my biggest addiction. You know, it's like that feeling of people fucking with your shit, genuinely rocking with your records, and like whether they know it's me who did it or not, I don't care. It's the fact, it's seeing a stadium move, it's seeing a crowd or a concert or people just enjoy that moment, enjoy those frequencies, that energy that you put out there. And man, that's my biggest addiction to music. You know, you never get tired of that.
And you know, I gotta give you a lot of your credit because E40 was the first rapper I listened to, and then Snoop Dogg. And you know, what I give a lot of credit to E40 is that he's the GOAT. Like in my perspective, he's my favorite rapper, like lyricist, like reinventing the wheel, but also letting you know I invented this before you did, but I'm not gonna step on your toes because we can all get money because that's the game. And you know, to how he got his deal with Jive, and you know, I'm moving all this and how he rearranged it, like all of those monumental things he was able to do, and you were able to deliver on GOAT and let him get his flowers for what he's been able to do to the game and his imprint. And so, you know, I was on Hub when we were able to finally get this moment, because I got to make sure I give you your credit because you gave him his.
Yeah, I mean, that was the intention of that song, you know, from the jump when Miller and I got in the studio and started kind of constructing it. As soon as he came up with that hook, it was just like, that was the whole intention. And I wasn't going to stop until he had the record. And I said to him a few times, and it was funny because he didn't bite on it at first. He didn't hear it. I sent a huge beat pack over. It's probably like 30 beats or 30, a couple demos and shit. And he missed it. He didn't hear it. And then, funny story. And then Blueface's manager ended up getting the record. And then so it just became this kind of like, became a deal before it became a thing, you know? I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of other kind of BS behind the scenes, but yeah, it was intended for him, you know? For at least the Bay and, you know, the pioneership of entrepreneurship in music, and like those are the things I respect. Like it's like a lot of people make great music, but then to become a staple is a whole other thing. You know, it's like, and that's where, you know, I always look to the E40s and Too Shorts and Snoops and Dre's and, you know, Puffy and, you know, Russell Simmons and, you know, the Lyric Coens, and, you know, it's like there's so many you know, Timberland, you know, I see all that beat battle shit that's going on right now. It's crazy too. Like that shit is so inspiring to me, you know.
You know what people, I don't know if they realize it, but it's indirectly. You know how people got out the Great Depression? It was entertainment, it was music, it was that got everybody out the Great Depression. It wasn't because people were spending money or you know what I mean? Because they had the Spanish flu. It's the same thing we're going through right now. And you know what I mean? And music is what's getting people pushing the envelope. And you know, by you being able to work right now, I got to make sure, like, bro, I appreciate you because you're allowing content to still get out. Versus film is stopped. Like if it wasn't already filmed up and you have that whole episode done, it stopped dead in its place.
Right. Hey, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I gotta answer real quick because my studio manager is blowing me up right now.
It's all good, bro.
Oh, it's not even letting me send a text. Oh, there it goes. Hold on. Pick back up. Okay, cool. You still there?
Oh yeah. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, are you familiar with All Black?
Excuse me? Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's coming in right now. So my studio manager is like, where are you? He's about to be there. I'm like, I'm here. Just chill out.
No, I like All Black's music. I like how he came on the scene, and then I also like the love he got back from the culture at the same time because he's different.
Right. He is. He's finding his space within that. And he's not afraid to be different. He's a real rock star. A motherfucker, a real rock star. So it's fun. He's fun to work with.
But man, we were talking about the E40 record and the transition, and I was gonna bring up, you brought up another great thing is the whistle song. I heard that on Kiss FM and in LA when I was driving through. And so I actually was like, man, let me do the research on this song because, it reinvented the wheel before everyone else started reinventing the wheel of these 90s songs in early 2000s.
Right. The timing of it.
So, boom.
Yeah, that project was crazy because John and I sat on it for like a year because like the time wasn't right. Like all the EDM shit was hella big. Like we even did some, island stuff and dance hall stuff. And then we did like a West Coast tour and we realized, shit, well, commercially, this is what's being played. But in the clubs, there's like this kind of new resurgence to West Coast music that we were hearing, or people were doing throwbacks, they're still playing hyphy sets and, West Coast sets amongst all the new shit. And that's when we were like, okay, cool. Like we're gonna, we want to be ahead of, shit, music goes in cycles, so it's like you can feel if you're out, you could feel when shit is shifting, people are getting tired of hearing the same thing over and over again. So you hear, and it's generally cultural things that pop up, so for instance, right now, like hip hop and reggaeton is like the biggest shit in the world, right? So it's always, it went from EDM to back to hip hop, and then the Latin shit blew up, and now we're kind of at where we're at. And so I kind of saw that. Like, I think working in radio, I worked for iHeart for about 7 years, and I really got to see trends come in and out. So what I've learned about being a West Coast producer, and it's good and it's bad because I feel like sometimes we get pigeonholed being from the West Coast. Like we have to make a certain type of hip hop or a certain type of music. I feel like the kids right now don't give a shit, but my era for sure. Like you grew up on Snoop and Dre, like that's West Coast shit, right? So we kind of have this like stigma to what works on the West Coast, and it does though. That's the thing. Like it really does work, and Whistle was one of those, like I didn't expect it to do what it did. Like that was my first song ever to get played on Kiss FM. Like, and I've had records across the entire West Coast, half the country, and Kiss FM is the biggest pop station in the world. Yes. And it's like, why, it's like, how the fuck did this station, I mean, of course, like Power Ed just played it, Really just played it, and then they hopped on right away. But to me, it just went to show like how far West Coast music has come. Like it's really globally pop culture, right? And I don't think I understood all of that until like I moved to LA and I realized like, damn, every door I walked into, including doing a record for Justin Bieber, like it was because I was from the Bay. It was because I came from the roots of kind of where the culture came from, and as a producer, those were always my biggest songs, like the ratchet West Coast club joints. And I tell people this all the time. I write songs. I'm a songwriter and of course beat maker, and I love making club music. But I put out some songs that I felt like Adele could have sang or something, and nobody gives a shit about it. But then I put out a Too Short blap, and hey, the streets turn up, so I didn't understand a lot of that, even though I'm from it. But when moving to LA, it really showed me, like,
it brought it home.
Yeah, like this Bay Area, this West Coast music, like this shit is globally pop music. It's not local anymore. And
I'm gonna just add this in there real fast. People forget that they hear the word pop, they think of like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Right.
Pop stands for popular music.
Popular. Right.
And they get that mixed up. These melodies, these melodic sounds that are in right now, and it's being done globally with reggaeton, they're using melodies. Like, this thing is transformed, and it's like you have to stay to the times. You have to be ahead of it a little bit to understand where the curve's gonna go to reset it, but you got to incorporate what's being done now.
Right. And I think the evolution of it, is always that's what I pay attention to. Really, like I love seeing music move forward, and you know, that's how that record came about. Yeah, you know, it's taking, you know, that Joel Santana fucking, you know, little sample, that whistle sample, but then when we did it, we're like, okay, this needs to be Too Short. And then when we cut the record with Short, he started the verse off with "What's my favorite word?" And John and I look at each other like, what the fuck did he just do? So that shit was fun, you know. And I just reached out to Short again. Hopefully we'll be working on some new shit. So,
you know, I do want to throw this out there because you brought up such key elements that I don't know if this has been done because I'm not privileged, so I'm gonna ask. Have you worked with her?
I haven't, but I've definitely been following her for a while. You know,
I saw her Bryson Tiller concert in 2014. She was on tour with him, and I started following her and did not know she was from Vallejo.
Yeah. From Vallejo, but she's been like in the system, I heard, since she was like 13, like writing and you know, in LA doing her thing. But super talented, you know. I love the vibe, you know. Reminds me of like old Guapale and shit, you know, like, but new, fresh.
But you know what's so crazy is that a lot of people, they use Guapale, Closer to My Dreams, as inspirational lyrics to write, but nobody gives her credit when it's time of her being a GOAT. Like, you know, her inspiration of Closer to My Dreams is millions of people's inspiration.
Right. We just flipped that record. I got a project coming out with Showbanger from the HBK crew. We just flipped that. And I found out Amp Live produced that. And like, I don't know if you know who Amp Live is, but I guess I'm bringing him up because there's a whole like string of producers before me from the Bay, like Rick Rock, and of course like Trax a Million and Droopy, and you know, like for a lot of these guys to be, you know, I was 17, 18, 19 years old when all that shit was happening, and I give a lot, you know, I tip my hat off to a lot of those guys. You know, I just reached out to Rick Rock the other day just because. I reached out to Mike Mosley, who did a lot of Tupac stuff, just because, you know. And
you know what? I'm happy you said that. I'm sorry, because you know the story behind Rick Rock, right? Rick Rock went to the studio because Mike Mosley invited him to meet Fody and Tupac, and Mike Mosley was late. And Rick Rock was there on time. And so he started playing beats. And, you know, that's how he got his first placements because Mike Mosley was late.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, that shit's legendary, you know? And that shit really motivates me. And now I feel like the artists that I'm around at Empire and me as a producer, like we're now, at least for Northern California, like we're the ones really, like all the shit that's about to come out this year, like I know it's gonna influence the kids and influence this next generation, just like it did us, you know, when we were kids. So I think for me that's the cool part of understanding and realizing some of these things. And man, that's why even during the quarantine, I'm still like, fuck, I gotta work. You know,
exactly. Take a risk for a huge reward. Make a big difference.
I mean, I feel like it's a part of history. You know, like it's 2020, like, and you know, like we're literally, this right here is about this little quarantine thing that we're going through. This is about to be the biggest technological shift in human history. We look how we're meeting, you know, right? Like I wouldn't even, I would have just been like, nah, let me come down to wherever you're at and let's just meet before. Like now we're almost forced to do things in this manner, you know? So
exactly. It's
the crazy time right now, you know?
So let me go ahead. I could talk to you about music all day, and you know, let me go ahead and start transition out of here because we got to wrap up this show. I know you got All Black coming, so real quick, man. Give me a story, man. You know, the last time you were pulled over, because a lot of people don't know what to do in a situation, and the red and blue lights come on. That high beam hits their neck and back, and it starts looking for other heads in the car. And they don't know what to do. They hear the blurp sound and get all scary.
I'm not a good person to ask when it comes to this. Every single time I get pulled over, all the last couple times I got pulled over, I got arrested. Last time is, I think my license was expired or some bullshit like that, and it was coming in the mail, and I was in Hollywood, and well, on top of that, I had an open container in the car. I had a beer in the car. So fuck me. I went to jail last time I got pulled over.
Yeah. Well, what's one thing you could do differently?
Don't drink and drive. I have 2 DUIs, so I'm trying. I don't recommend that at all.
Gotcha.
So.
Oh, that's real. That's real. And you know what? I have a feeling you're very compliant with the police. Like they'll ask you something, you'll be like, "Yeah, sure."
I don't lie. I just say fuck it. Like, you know, like you get caught, you get caught. Like, if you're gonna fight with them, I mean, you know, in today's world, like that could mean death. So I just fuck it. I did it.
Yep. Let's just move forward.
Move
Caught me.
on. You know.
You caught me.
Yeah.
Move on.
Shit. I'm hands out the window. What do you need? Get out the car, sir. Okay, fuck. You know.
Okay. I have this thing called Trading Places. It's my next segment. We take 2 iconic lies and trade places like Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy back in the day in the movie. You remember that movie?
Right.
So for you, I have 2 questions. Number 1, will it work? And number 2, what would life be like it if they traded places? So
who am I trading places with who?
So we're gonna have 2 short trade places with Garth Brooks.
That's interesting.
Will it work?
Work? What era? Right now?
We'll go back into history.
Back
you know, they traded places at like 20, whenever.
Nah. Ratchet Country wouldn't have worked at that time. It'll work right now though.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Country stripper songs they're being made right now. Yeah. But back 20 years ago, was shit wouldn't fly.
Can you imagine Garth Brooks saying, "What's my favorite word?"
What's my favorite word, bitch?
Oh shit! Now can you imagine all them crazy songs that Garth Brooks sang, and it's now too short?
Yeah, I couldn't see Garth Brooks rapping. I don't think that, you know, that won't work. But again, right now it could work. You know, 20 years ago, people weren't as open-minded.
Bro, Garth Brooks performs for 4 to 5 hours. I've seen Show perform. He performs for 15, 20 minutes.
Right, different.
Big difference. And folks, I mean, Show got enough hits like Garth Brooks does that he could do a whole set for that long.
Right.
I mean, shit. Freaky Tales was like 10 minutes.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and transition out of that Trading Places. You know, it's just, you know, to have a little bit of fun after we talk about the police and shit, because that's PTSD every time we talk about they punk ass. But right. I got this thing called Impulse Q&A. We take questions. We got questions on these cards. They don't pay me, so I don't say their name, but they got good questions, and you know, they're good for like a fan perspective. You get an option to pass if you want to, but you still got to answer 3 questions. You ready?
Yeah. Let's go.
What is something that people are obsessed with, but you just don't get the point of?
I guess right. Before a couple of days ago, it was TikTok. Everybody's on TikTok. I wasn't on it yet, and then I got on it the other day, and I was like, okay, I get it. Oh, but
did you dance with the family?
No, I haven't even done anything yet. I was blown away by the talent on there. Like, there's so much different talent. I felt like I was watching like America's Got Talent or some shit. I was scrolling through that bitch for an hour and like, oh, okay, I get it. But yeah, before that, I was like, why the fuck is everybody on TikTok? Or, you know, I don't know. The social media shit. Man, our kids are gonna grow up in that shit. For me, I have to tell myself, okay, get on the internet, you know.
Man, it's like email. The kids will never know what it feels like to hear "You've Got Mail" and that dial-up sound.
Right. Yeah, but now they're gonna communicate like this. You know?
Right, but no, you know, we had chat rooms back in the day where we could be anybody and talk to anybody, and then now you got this where you can have a chat room, but we're seeing your face.
Right. You can still catfish motherfuckers though. So. That's crazy.
Question number 2. Who would you most like to sit next to on a 10-hour flight and why?
It would be a legend, like a Jay-Z or a Puffy or a Dr. Dre, you know, somebody who's done it at the highest level, so I can pick their brain. You know?
That's dope. Now, don't go be telling people if they snore like that, because you know it's a 10-hour flight. They're gonna take a nap.
Even Ghazi and Nima, like I'm blown away by the infrastructure. Like I'm only like since November, you know, been working for the label, but just to see the way kind of Empire has damn near reconstructed the industry, you know, how like labels are running and stuff now. So it's like I get amazed every single time I talk to those guys too.
You know, I gotta give my hats off to Empire because, you know, there was a state where the independent world was taking over and the major world was separating and didn't know what to do to a degree. And here comes Empire like, hey, no, I'm the independent god. I know what I'm doing. I come from, you know, the whole Universal background, and like how he came in and just knew what he was doing was just some blessings. So I just want to make sure I give shout outs to Ghazi because he is a humble dude and really changed and reset the game.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super thankful.
Question number 3. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
My first instinct was Mexican food. I love crunchy tacos. Or we got this place in San Jose called Adelita's, and they got the best shrimp taco on the planet. And if I could, I would eat there every day.
Oh, you got me writing down Adelita's in San Jose. I'm finna go try them out.
Adelita's, it's bomb. Super bomb.
So let me ask you this. What are you most excited for coming up? You know, I asked this question a lot during this quarantine time because we're all caught up in you know, the reality of the circumstance, but let's talk about some joyful shit.
I mean, I think for anybody, this is a great time to grow. You know, like if you're stuck in the house, like this is the time to learn something new. I think for me, I'm most excited about. For me, I guess stepping into the next phase of my career is being more of an ambassador of the music. I'm working on projects that I'm going to put out. You know, I've put out Clayton William projects like singles and stuff in the past. But I want to do more of that this year to really like, I think my goal this year is to break somebody new. Like that's probably my ultimate goal for the year. Cause I feel like that will be the next step to then, you know, back to the touring and all that stuff. Like with some of the acts I've worked with in the past, like that was my favorite part, like working a project from front to back, you know, from producing it to jumping on the road and putting the show together and, you know, DJing the show. And but I feel like to get back to that right now, there's a handful of artists, and you'll see as the projects come out over the next couple months, but there's a handful of artists like I really believe in that I feel are all like right in that, you know, cusp of being like the next ones on deck, like for across the West Coast. And so I'm definitely heavily focused on that right now. And then my other passion is just I love remixing, and I love festival music and shit like that. So a goal of mine has always been able to connect hip hop with global music to an extent. So, you know, you brought up like Los Racas, and I have like some like reggaeton and dancehall projects. I work with this artist named Blanca Di Danza. He's a dancehall artist from Brooklyn, New York. We just put out a song with Walshy Fire from Major Lazer. So, you know, it's like I'm trying to connect all those dots. But first and foremost, I'm definitely excited about all the new music, and then as it comes out, I'm just gonna make the best attempt I can to you know, be a face of the music, really help push it, guide these artists into networks and relationships that maybe they don't have yet. You know, where I can, you know, I feel like now I'm, you know, 13 years in the game, so I can make phone calls across half the country. I don't have to physically go. Where before I had to get on the road, you know, go build with people and, you know, go shake hands and kiss babies. And yeah, so I'm working on putting it all together. And also during this time, I'm trying to learn how to do more content, you know, do more studio content, behind the scenes content, you know, we're building a content team here at Empire. So trying to, you know, wrap my head around like a studio show I can put together to pitch to them. And we shot some things, but nothing concrete yet. But so yeah, I'm definitely trying to just expand my horizons. Like, I love making music. That's my favorite part.
I was going to ask you, out of all those elements, what are your favorite? Performance, making the music, hearing the product when it's done, hearing fan reaction. I mean, there's so many elements, and I feel like you get a high from it all. Yeah,
and I do. I think I enjoy all of them in their own space. But of course, like when you're like, you know, it's like making a song is like making a baby, you know. So it's some of them I get attached to more than others. And then some I've learned to just like it's just a part of the game. I gotta keep getting records out, so I can't get super attached to everything, because certain artists are gonna do certain things. They're gonna push things the way they want to, or they believe that works for them. So I have to be flexible in that aspect of, you know, I want to take care of the artists that I work with, because that's my job here at Empire. But then, you know, as a production company, as a production label, OnDaBeat Music, I'm still working on developing more artists, putting, you know, signing records, putting stuff out. I'm excited to get to that phase, you know. So I feel like I'm able to, this year I really want to level up from, cool, I'm a producer to I can be more of an executive producer, A&R, you know, try to DJ Khaled this shit the best we can, you know. So.
Yes, sir. Be the best you can be. It's the Empire.
Yeah, man.
So, before I get up out of here, before we wrap it up, man, you got any questions for me?
Where does this go? And how did you get started putting all this together with Uncle Snoop's Army and all that stuff?
So pretty much I got told no a whole bunch of times and had good relationships and great conversations, and so I was like, I got something to use and put it together, and the show came about. And then I was trying to be unique, and I got a brother that pressures me to be different, and so, you know, that's where the content of the show came out. But Uncle Snoop's Army just got behind my show about last week. I've been rocking with Bobby D, that's Snoop Dogg's agent manager, and he also does all the big events, the How the West Was Won to the R&B Rewind, Lovers and Friends. You know, he does them all. And I had an interview with him, and, you know, he really vibed with me. And so he gave me an opportunity when we got done. And, you know, now he's behind my show, and now Snoop's behind it. And, you know, I'm really blessed. I'm humbled. And I'm trying to keep it going. You know, as for when does this, like, come out? Probably come out about 4 or 5 weeks from right now.
Cool. Well, man, keep me posted, you know?
Yes, sir. To episode 31, man, Bobby D presents Uncle Snoop's Army. I appreciate y'all. I would not be able to do this or have special guests like this super producer, this future pioneer that's going to leave an imprint bigger than his songs. He's going to really change the difference of how this game is done. Man, Clayton Williams, I appreciate you, brother.
Likewise, bro. Thank you for having me. Yo, what up? This is Clayton William, and you're listening to Contrast Uncut, boy.
Hey. For sure.